The market square of Harrowmere baked under a merciless noon sun. Dust hung in the air, thick as flour, kicked up by goats, carts, and the restless shuffle of townsfolk. Stalls overflowed with wrinkled apples, coarse wool, and iron nails. Smoke curled from a blacksmith's forge. And in the center of it all, beneath the ancient oak where justice was mitted, stood the town crier. His red tabard, faded at the seams, bore the seal of Lord Ashbourne, a griffin clutching a scale. Around his neck hung a brass bell, its clapper still. He raised a parchment, cleared his throat, a sound like gravel in a bucket, and began, "Hear ye! Hear ye! By decree of his grace, the Lord Mayor, effective Michaelmas, the hearth tax shall double. 1 shilling per fire, paid in silver or grain. Defaulters face forfeiture of livestock and public correction." A murmur rose. A woman clutched her child tighter. An old man spat. And from the shadow of the baker's stall, Illa stepped forward. 20 years old. Orphaned 2 winters past. Living now under her elder sister's roof. A cramped cottage with a leaky thatch and a hearth that smoked more than it warmed. She wore a long grey woolen frock, plain as ash, sleeves frayed at the cuffs, no embroidery, no belt, just a garment of survival. Her dark hair, usually braided tightly, hung in 2 loose ropes today, strands clinging to her damp temples. She'd heard enough. She cried, her voice, sharp as flint, cut through the crowd's drone. Enough. The crier paused, blinking. "Step back, girl. This is no place for, they took my sister's wages." Illa's voice cracked, raw. 3 days weaving, and they paid her half, saying the cloth was uneven. Now this. More? Where are we to find silver, uncle? In the dirt. The crowd shifted. Some nodded. Others frowned. The crier's jaw tightened. He was Master Corwin, 70th a day, a man who'd buried 2 wives and 3 sons, each loss etched deeper than the last into his face. He did not suffer insolence. "Your grievances belong in the steward's court," he said, cold and final. "Not here. Not now." He turned to resume reading. Illa saw red. Not rage, not at first. It was helplessness. The kind that coils in your chest like a starving dog. She thought of her sister's calloused hands, the empty grain sack, the landlord's smirk yesterday when he demanded early rent. And when Corwin lifted the bell, ding ding, to silence her further. She moved. 1 shove. Hard. With both hands. Corwin staggered backward, arms windmilling. The bell flew from his grip, clattering across the cobbles like a dropped skull. He crashed into a sack of turnips, grunting as his hips struck stone. Silence. Not a breath. Not a bird call. Then, gasps. A child wailed. A woman crossed herself. Before Illa could pull back, rough hands seized her arms. Constable Harrow, broad as an ox, yanked her around. His grip left bruises before he'd even spoken. "You struck the king's voice," he growled, breath sour with ale. "That's not cheek, girl. That's treasonous conduct." "No." Illa tried to wrench free. "I didn't mean." "Mean?" Harrow scoffed. "The law doesn't ask what you meant. It asks what you did." And with that, ropes bit into her wrists. She was marched, barefoot now, shoes lost in the scuffle, through the lanes of Harrowmere. Whispers followed like flies. "That's Illa, sister to Miriam the weaver, mad, that one. Father hound for poaching, remember. Deserves worse. Her grey frock snagged on a thorn bush, rip, a tear bloomed near the hem. She didn't flinch. Inside, though, something had broken. Not defiance. Not yet. Just certainty. This won't end well. At the market cross, the stool waited. On it lay a bundle of slender, pale twigs, bound with hemp, the birch rod. Bailiff Thorn, a man who spoke in verdicts, not words, stood beside it. He unrolled a smaller scroll. No trial needed for such an open crime. Illa, daughter of the late Thomas, resident of Harrowmere. You have assaulted the duly appointed town crier, an officer of the crown, in full view of witnesses. By ancient custom and statute of 34 Edward III, such offence warrants public birching, 6 strokes, here and now, as warning to all. 6. Illa's knees trembled. 6 strokes of birch, thin, flexible, cruelly stinging. Not a paddle. Not a strap. Birch. The kind that left welts like angry worms, fading slow, aching for days. Used for women, girls, servants, never men, they got the whip. A punishment meant to shame as much as hurt. The crowd pressed closer. Faces blurred, curious, judgmental, a few pitying. Her sister Miriam pushed through, face pale, shawl clutched to her chest. Bailiff, please, she's distraught. Her father's anniversary was yesterday, she hasn't slept. Step back, Miriam, Thorn said, not unkindly, but firmly. The law stands. They led Illa to the post, a scarred wooden beam, stained dark in patches. A constable steadied her. Another lifted the hem of her grey frock, just to mid-thigh, no higher. Modesty was preserved, barely. Enough to shock. Enough to mark her. Please forgive me, she whispered. God, forgive me. The first stroke landed. Crack. She jolted. A white-hot line seared her skin. She bit her lip, hard, tasted copper. Second stroke. Crack. Tears welled, not falling yet. Pride, still. Third. Crack. Her knuckles whitened on the post. Breath hissed through her teeth. Fourth. Crack. A sob escaped, small, broken. The crowd stirred. A woman covery my her son's eyes. Fifth. Crack. Her legs buckled. The constable held her up, gently, almost. Sweat soaked the grey wool at her back. Sixth. Crack. Silence rushed in, deafening. She sagged. Trembling. Tears streamed now, silent and hot. Her thighs burned. Her dignity, shattered. No one cheered. No one jeered. Just the low hum of discomfort, the sound of a community uneasy with its own justice. Then, movement. Miriam was there. Without a word, she wrapped a thick woolen shawl around Illa's shoulders, tucking it tight. Her hands shook. Bailiff Thorn stepped forward. His voice, when it came, was quieter now. The sentence is done. But the debt to this town remains. You will speak your apology, here. Now. Illa lifted her head. Hair plastered to her cheeks. Eyes swollen, but clear. Master Corwin stood a few paces away, leaning on a stick now, his arm in a sling. His face was unreadable, pained, yes, but not cruel. She took a breath. Swallowed blood from her lip. Her voice was a rasp. She cleared it. Tried again. I lost control. I let anger rule me, like a beast, not a woman. She looked at Corwin. Directly. You were only doing your duty. A duty that feeds your own household, I'd wager. And I struck you for it. A pause. The wind stirred the hem of her grey frock. What I did. I was wrong. Deeply wrong. Her voice cracked, but she held it. I ask your pardon, Master Corwin. And the pardon of Harrowmere. I am sorry. A long beat. Then, Corwin nodded. Slow. Solemn. Not forgiveness, not yet. But acknowledgement. He bent, wincing, and picked up his bell. Dusting it with his sleeve, he gave it one soft, clear ding. The crowd exhaled. Thorn gave a curt nod. Let her go. Illa walked home. Not led. Not dragged. Walked. Bare feet on cold stones. The shawl heavy on her shoulders. Her grey frock, once plain, now creased, torn, marked, swayed with each step. Every movement sent a fresh throb through her legs. She didn't hide her face. Didn't rush. She passed the miller's wife, who looked away. The blacksmith's apprentice, who stared, then quickly bowed his head. Old Widow Peake, who held out a small linen packet, for the sting. Salt and comfrey. Illa took it. Whispered, thank you. At the cottage gate, crooked, ivy-choked, she stopped. Inside, safety waited. Warmth. Sister's quiet strength. But here, on the threshold, she paused. She lifted the edge of her frock, just an inch. 3 livid red lines rose on her skin, already darkening at the edges. Not bleeding. Not broken. But there. Unignorable. She touched one. Flinched. Not just pain. Shame. Shame. Not because she'd been punished. But because, somewhere, in the white heat of that shove, she'd become the chaos she hated. The injustice she raged against, she'd mirrored it. Her father hadn't stolen deer for greed. He'd done it to feed them. And still, the rope. She hadn't struck to harm Corwin. She'd struck to be heard. And still, the birch. The law didn't care about why. Only what? A tear fell, slow this time. Not from pain. From understanding. She lowered her frock. Took a breath. Pushed the creaking door open. Inside, Miriam had lit the hearth. A pot of barley stew bubbled. No words. Just a basin of warm water, a clean cloth, and a jar of yellow salve on the table. Illa sank onto the stool. Miriam knelt behind her, gently lifting the grey wool. No pity in her eyes. Only love. And sorrow. As the salve touched the welts, Illa closed her eyes. Outside, the sun dipped behind the hills. Shadows stretched long across Harrowmere. In the square, the birch rod lay forgotten on the stool, twigs slightly frayed, damp at the tips. No one would speak of it tomorrow. Not openly. But every woman who passed that stool would glance at it. Every girl who saw Illa's grey frock would walk a little quieter. And Illa. She would weave. She would mend. She would carry water. And every time she sat, she would remember. Not the sting. But the silence after the last crack. The weight of the crowd's gaze. The unbearable lightness of being known. Some lessons don't scar the skin. They sink deeper. Into the quiet. Into the gray. In the old days, justice wasn't blind. It watched. It remembered. And sometimes, it left you gray.